Hello, my name is Steven and I'm going to take you through a quick tour of the desktop application provided with Fritz. If you run the application, you will see three main areas. The most evident is the simulated Fritz face, which mimics what the real face does. To the left we see the facial expression list with the motion sequencer at the bottom. For this video, we've also included a live feed from Fritz in the lower right. You can keep an eye on this to see how the physical robot is reacting to any interface changes. The simulated face allows you to use the mouse to move the facial parts of Fritz. If you move the mouse over the face, you will see green dots appear. These green dots are control points that you can drag with the mouse to physically move those parts of Fritz. When you hover over the control point with the mouse, you will see red arrows that indicate the possible direction of movement. As there are many times that left and right parts need to move in synchronization, you can also hold down the Shift key to move both parts in unison. Using these control points, you can configure any part of Fritz's head. The expressions list to the left can be used to configure Fritz's expression. By clicking on the appropriate expression, you can configure Fritz in a specific way. Notice that while clicking on the expressions, both the simulated and the physical Fritz will stay in sync. While using this interface is nice, you can also control Fritz using special keyboard combinations. If you bring up the Options Keyboard Configuration menu, you will see an interface that allows you to configure how a particular keystroke creates an action in Fritz. For example, I can press the Control space and see that Fritz's jaw will open and close. I can also use the arrow keys to move the head left and right. A much more natural interface to Fritz is using an attached joystick. If you bring up the Options Joystick configuration, you will see an interface that allows you to associate a joystick movement to a particular Fritz movement. For example, when I move the stick on the joystick, you can see the dial change and the neck twist at the same time. If I wanted to instead have the same stick control the jaw movements of Fritz, all I need to do is change the drop-down selection to jaw instead of neck twist. While moving Fritz with keys and joysticks is fun, being able to record facial expressions for playback is ideal. That's where the motion sequencer comes in. For example, let's say in the first second I wanted to move Fritz's eyebrows up. I would first click in the motion sequencer in the appropriate location, and then move Fritz's eyebrows up. Note that the location that I clicked in has now changed into a motion frame symbol. I can continue this process by clicking further on in the timeline, and then move his eyebrows down, then close his eyes, and then move everything back to neutral. Now when I click around in the motion sequencer, the simulated and real Fritz face will change according to the last motion frame encountered. If I go up to the play button and press play, we can see the entire sequence played out based on the timing we selected. We can also add additional frames at any time. For example, I can go in and add a frame to close his mouth towards the beginning and open it at the end by editing the existing motion frame. We can also move motion frames by clicking and dragging them to different locations. In this case, the mouth will now open later. You should also note the different colors used with different motion frames. These colors are based on what part of the face is changing. More red means eyes, more greens means mouth, and more blue means the neck. If all parts are moved, the frame color will be mostly white. But if only one part of the frame is moved, the color will be mostly black. Because we can work with many motion frames, it's sometimes easier just to focus on the movements of one section of the face at a time. If I uncheck the checkboxes just above the motion sequencer, I can eliminate these motion frames that do not change that part of the face. For example, if I uncheck the eyes and neck, we can see the two motion frames where I opened and closed the mouth. Likewise, I can also configure it to see just where the eyebrows have changed. If you find that you need to shift all motion frames over to include a new expression, click on the motion frame and while holding down the Shift key, move the frame to the right location. Note that all subsequent motion frames are also adjusted to keep things in sync. The most common use of creating motion frames is to create realistic movements over audio. This audio can be created in several ways. We can use the file load audio to load in audio which can then be seen in the motion sequencer. Or we can use the audio insert text to speech and type in our own text that will be converted into speech using one of the selected voices. The advantage of using the text-to-speech process is that we automatically get pre-configured mouth movements based on the text that we typed in. This can save a lot of time trying to sync mouth movements with speech. Once we have loaded or generated audio, we can then annotate that audio stream with additional movements. You should note that the waveform expressed in the motion sequencer is based on vocal intensity. This means that areas of low or no visible waveform relates to no or little speech at that point. This is often what happens between words and can be ideal places to change some facial features. If we now press play, we can see the movements and hear the audio as it's represented in the motion sequencer. If we don't like a part of the sequence or want to move it, we can select that part in the motion sequencer by dragging the mouse across the area that we want to change, and then use the edit menu to remove that part. When you are satisfied with the results, you can use the Save menu to save your sequence. This can be reloaded using the Load menu. Note that both the audio and motion frames are saved. The .sequence file format is just an XML document that captures all the relevant information. You can even load these files into a text editor to see its content. We hope that this has given you a quick overview of what you can do with the application included with Fritz. Thanks much for watching. Bye-bye.